Hi guys, Sci-fi recap here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm gonna explain a 2019 American superhero horror film called Brightburn. Set in a fictional town called Brightburn, the movie follows Tori and Kyle, a young couple who lives happily with their only son, Brandon. All seems to go well at first, with Brandon appearing to be everything they dreamt of. A happy, curious, and intelligent young boy. In the classroom, Brandon seems to be smarter than other classmates. Because of his high level of intelligence, he often gets bullied by his envious friends. But there is a girl, Caitlin, who always keeps embracing him. He then falls in love with this girl. What at first appears to be a gift from heaven soon turns out to be something monstrously, as the boy begins to show a sign that he is different when he turns into 12. The spaceship begins to transmit an alien message, causing Brandon to sleepwalk to the barn and act strangely. He tries to open the cellar as something is hidden in there, but then his mom intervenes and takes him back to the house. Starting from that moment, Brandon begins to exhibit superhuman powers. The next morning, he attempts to mow the lawn, but when he tries to turn on the machine, he unintentionally tosses the lawnmower. Surprised with the power, the boy puts his hand in the spinning blade and immediately breaks it without having his hand injured at all. The next day, his parents decide to take Brandon camping. Before leaving, Kyle finds his child acting strangely while eating breakfast as Brandon bends a fork with his mouth. While cleaning up Brandon's room, Tori unintentionally discovers photos of sexy models and graphic photos of human organs. Misinterpreting the photos they found before as pubescent curiosity, Kyle gives his son a small talk when hunting to give him understanding about sex. His dad explains that sex is not about organs and other stuffs, but it's about a love between two people. Unfortunately, this talk only inspires Brandon to sneak away at night and goes to stalk his beloved classmate, Caitlin, which then leaves the girl in shock. At one night after the family comes back from camping, Kyle spots his son staring at chickens and notices that the chickens are terrified of Brandon's presence. He then brings the boy back to the house. Later at night, the parents are awoken by their screams only to find out that they had been killed. Although Kyle tells Tori that their son is responsible for the killing, she refuses to accept the fact that Brandon is capable of such things and keeps saying that it was caused by a wolf. One day during playing a trust game at PE class where a person falls and the other friends must support the falling person, Brandon falls towards Caitlin, but the girl refuses to hold him and lets him fall to the ground. Not only that, the girl also accuses him of being a pervert, having previously seen him in her room at night. She is forced by the teacher to help Brandon up, but Brandon, who is already frustrated by her action, crushes her hand. This accident makes him suspended from school. That night, Brandon once again sleepwalks to the ship and manages to break the lock on the cellar door where the spaceship was hidden. Seeing red light emanating from the barn, Tori follows and sees her son levitating while chanting a message from the ship, "Take the world." Brandon then falls down and cuts himself on the ship, revealing the kid's weakness. When Tori calms her son down, she reveals the truth of his origins. She tells Brandon that he is not their biological children, rather, they found him in a strange spaceship that crashed into their property 12 years ago. Although she and Kyle have lied about adopting him from the agency, he is still their son and they love him very much. After knowing the truth, Brandon runs away in anger while chanting the alien message. This is the moment when he completely turns into a psychotic serial killer and discovers his new power for being able to burst a red flash from his eyes. The killing begins with Caitlin's mother, Erica, who has forbidden him from seeing Caitlin ever again. Brandon finds Erica alone at the dinner and begins to scare her by covering the window with his signature symbol. He then shatters the light above her, causing one of the shards to strike into her eyes. She screams in agony as she tries to remove the piece of glass. With blood obscuring her vision, Erica then runs towards the storage room and locks herself inside. With his superpower, Brandon manages to break in and decides to kill the poor lady. The next day, police find a series of runes drawn on a window while investigating Erica's disappearance. At school, Brandon meets his aunt, Marilee, who is a school psychologist. She gives Brandon a chance to redeem himself after the incident at PE class, as she is required to update the boy's condition to the school, his parents, and to the sheriff. But instead, he keeps ranting about being special and is showing no sign of remorse at all. Unhappy with what Marilee said earlier, Brandon visits his aunt later that night and tells her that it's not a good idea to talk to the sheriff and threaten her. She refuses to fulfill his demand and tells him to go home. But does he really go home? When she goes to bed, Noah, Marilee's husband, comes back home and finds Brandon hiding in the closet with his creepy mask. Noah is furious and tells Brandon that he is going to report everything to his parents. Because of that, Brandon lashes out and pushes his uncle away with his superpower. Noah then tries to drive away, but Brandon lifts his car up and drops it to the ground, which ends up killing his uncle. Before he goes away, Brandon draws his signature symbol with his uncle's blood. Returning home topless, he tells his parents that his friend had ripped the shirt off while playing soccer after school. Somehow, Brandon does not let his parents take the shirt. At midnight, Marilee calls Tori and Kyle to inform them about Noah's car accident and tells them that their kid had been sneaking around in her house. The next morning, Tori announces Noah's death to Brandon, but he shows no reaction at all towards the news. Brandon tells his parents that he would never hurt his own uncle, but Kyle accuses his son of lying. Unhappy with his dad's reaction, Brandon triggers his power and violently throws his father up against the wall. Kyle then finds out his son's bloodstained shirt and shows it to Tori, but she refuses to believe that Brandon is the culprit behind his uncle's death case. Realizing what his son is going to be in the future, Kyle plans a hunting trip with Brandon as a ruse to kill the boy. When in the woods, Kyle attempts to shoot Brandon in the head with his hunting rifle, but the execution fails as the bullet bounces off Brandon's head. Feeling betrayed by his father, Brandon then chases him and kills him directly with the heat vision. The police who is investigating Noah's case realizes that there's a similarity between his case and Erica's missing case. He then decides to visit Briar residence and asks Tori if he could talk to Brandon to clarify the strange symbol he found earlier. But Tori states that the kid is not at home and tells the police to go away. Tori finds Brandon's notebook with drawings of his murders and his message to take the world. Having seen that, Tori starts to believe her husband and tries to call him. But Brandon answers the call instead and implies that he is coming for her. Although Tori immediately calls the police for help, Brandon flies home and begins to destroy the house. He also brutally kills the police and his friend. Remembering that the ship can injure Brandon, Tori runs to the barn and unexpectedly discovers Erica's eviscerated body nailed to the wall. After arming herself with a fragment from the ship, she approaches her son and tells him that there's still good inside him and expresses how much she loves him. She then tries to stab him, but Brandon sees that coming and manages to avoid the stabbing. In retaliation, Brandon flies Tori into the sky above the clouds and drops her down to her death, just as an airplane approaches. The next day, an airplane is revealed to have mysteriously crashed, destroying the whole property and killing everyone on that plane with Brandon as the only survivor. During the credit scene, Brandon begins his worldwide attacks and starts to dominate the world. As the world starts to learn his misdeeds, and his infamous reputation as a menacing force grows, he's branded with a new name: Brightburn. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.